Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and gamers alike. This is Cody here from Let's Play Station, and 2019 was a very special year for me. It was the year that my son was born, it was the year that I came to grips with my disability, and it's also the year that I was able to jump back into gaming. Due to that, I wanted to celebrate this first year of kind of getting back into gaming with this list. How will this list work? Well, it's pretty simple. I am going to be going over the games that I have played during the year of 2019, going over my least favorite game that I played, my most disappointing, and then leading up to my top 5 favorite games that I played during the year of 2019. The only rules are as follows. Obviously, I must have played the game, I must have played it during the year of 2019, and I must have played a good chunk of it. Sadly, there's lots of games that I've replayed this year that won't be making the list, but I have plenty of new experiences to talk about that I experienced this year, and I can't wait to discuss it with you today. With that said, guys, let's get started. The Force Unleashed 2 was a game that I wanted to love. As a huge Star Wars fan, I had loved the first Force Unleashed with the great combat, memorable story, and fun characters. But this game lacks in every sense of the word. It has a nonsensical story that makes little to no sense, characters that sadly are rather forgettable this time around, combat that is very repetitive and not challenging in any way, a lack in variety in terms of level design and enemy design, and some rather lackluster boss fights. The reason this is so disappointing is because the first game had quite the opposite. Lush environments, great levels, unique worlds, fun and memorable boss encounters, a great combat and progression system, and an overall memorable and fun story that Star Wars fans will always remember. The Force Unleashed 2 does not live up to the predecessor, and at the end of the day, ends up just being a very forgettable hack and slash adventure that had the Star Wars label slapped right on top of it. The story has no purpose, the combat is boring, and overall I was very disappointed. I wanted to love this game, and in the end, ended up having it being my least favorite game that I played during the year of 2019. Batman Arkham Origins isn't a bad game. Far from it. It has fun boss fights, the same fun and unique combat and stealth system of the other games, and is overall an enjoyable experience. So why is it disappointing then? Well, the game doesn't really provide anything new. There's no update to the combat system, there's no update to the stealth, there's no update to the traversal, and there's really no update to the side quests. Everything feels very familiar, everything feels very samey, and there's just nothing really to it. The game also is very disappointing in the fact that the world feels lifeless, dull, and uncreative, just feeling like a bigger Arkham City without any of the charm or charisma that world had. It also lacks in terms of story and characters. It feels like it wants to do something different at first, focusing on Black Mask and a group of assassins that want to take Batman down in his early career, and also focuses on a Batman that's more ferocious and less tempered, and also less trusting. At first leading to, in my opinion, a good setup for a story that really eventually leads to nothing. It turns into a story that is rather generic, predictable, and just not fun, especially since they decided to shoehorn in the Joker again when he really wasn't needed for this story. Overall, Batman Arkham Origins is a good game. It's a game that you'll pop in, you'll play, you'll enjoy, but you'll never really think about again, and it's also a game that you'll never truly want to replay, and that to me makes it the most disappointing since the Batman Arkham series is some of my favorite games of all time. With that said, guys, let's move on and do my top 5 favorite games that I played in 2019. Do you love adventure? Do you love memorable characters? Do you love stories? Do you love grand set pieces? And most of all, do you love fun? Then Uncharted 4 is the game for you. This was the game that felt the most like an adventure and really had me hooked from beginning to end this year. The story is memorable, the characters and their banter is both hilarious and relatable, and you find yourself really attached to all the characters. It's a great end to Nathan's story, and it has a very emotional and satisfying climax that will really satisfy any fan of the original games. As much as I love the game, I will say that it's definitely a game that's more appreciated if you've played the other games in the series. With that said, the game also has fantastic traversal system. You climb, you slide, you jump, you rope swing from place to place, and you're able to use this flexibility in the traversal in combat, so you can jump, dodge, and cover yourself while going from gunfight to gunfight and looking for treasure to treasure, all along the way of a fantastic story that really serves its characters and its world perfectly. I loved this game. It was a fantastic end to the Uncharted series, and I have no doubt that I'll be going back to this adventure sometime again in the near future. Batman Arkham Knight is a fantastic conclusion to the Arkham series. It has fantastic, fast-moving combat that really requires the best of its players. You have to constantly pay attention to what enemy you're fighting, how to counter them, and use all of your gadgets, moves, and abilities in order to win every single fight. The stealth is just as fun, giving you plenty of tools to use that you can take down enemies with, including a voice synthesizer, explosion gel, and many other things that you can use to knock enemies out and terrify them all along the way. The game has a great traversal system that will have you gliding from tower to tower and from city to city, never wanting to touch the ground. But even if you do want to touch the ground, you will find yourself having a ton of fun driving in the perfectly controlled Batmobile that also has a really fun battle mode. This game was just a blast from beginning to end, with a story that questioned whether the Batman does more harm than good. Can we trust Batman? Can he trust himself? And what are the consequences of being the Batman? It's a game that really explores who Batman is as a character in his psyche, a game that explores whether he's just as crazy as the criminals he stops. Overall, I absolutely loved Batman Arkham Knight, and I hope that every Batman fan gets the chance to check this awesome game and conclusion out. You guys knew this next one had to be on the list. Jedi Fallen Order is a Star Wars fan's dream come true for a video game. It has fantastic combat that requires the very best of its players. You have to parry, you have to dodge, and you have to use all of your abilities, which include force push, force pull, and force slow down in order to win every single fight. Whether you're facing an intimidating boss or even a stormtrooper, you can be taken down very fast if you are not skilled and if you are not looking out constantly for how to take people down and how to counter each and every enemy according to their weaknesses. This game does a fantastic job of truly making you feel like a Jedi, not only in the sense of great power that you wield, but also in the sense of great responsibility and care you must take in every single decision and battle that you're a part of. It has a fun and fantastic traversal system that includes climbing, jumping, running along walls, and even sliding. And it is a blast to play. Most of all, the thing that really puts this above a lot of other Star Wars games that I've played in the past is the fantastic story. You really connect with this story. You want to see the conclusion. You really love these characters. They feel like actual people who've lived in this world and have gone through real tragedy and have made real mistakes. All along the way, making this game one of the most memorable Star Wars experiences I have had in quite some time. I absolutely adore this game, and the only reason it's not even higher on the list is due to sadly some performance issues that I feel can be fixed, hopefully through patches, which would really make this game truly one of the greats. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the most unique games I've ever played, with a wonderful world, great characters, and a fantastic story that all make you want to explore everything in depth. You want to see every corner of the map, you want to discover every type of robot dinosaur that you can, and you want to discover each unique way of taking them down, whether their weaknesses be impact, fire, needing to blow armor off of them before you can really do any damage, or ice. You find yourself constantly needing to think outside of the box, needing to use different arrows and different kinds of weapons. Sometimes you have to tie an enemy down and do a bunch of damage at once. Sometimes you have to blow their armor off and then do an attack. Sometimes you have to freeze them. Sometimes you have to light them on fire. Sometimes you have to be quick. Sometimes you have to be slow. Each enemy in the game is unique and varied and requires the very best in terms of strategy, skill, and planning. As well, the story is fantastic, will keep you gripped from beginning to end, and really makes you want to see and understand not only the story and the characters' backstories, but the culture of the very world you're in. The side quests as well have very rich and meaningful characters and stories alongside the main story and characters that really make you engrossed and lost in the world, finding yourself playing a game for much longer and doing much more than you traditionally would do in any other game that's similar to this, simply due to the tender love and care that the creators put into every inch, detail, and frame of this game. This game is beyond memorable, and I absolutely adored it. I loved every moment, and it came very close to being my number one. Before jumping into number one, guys, there's some honorable mentions I want to discuss just due to this year being a fantastic year for me in regards to gaming. First up, we have Injustice 2, which has a very good story mode and a very fun fighting mechanic system. Then we have two games that are similar to that being Tekken 6 and Soul Calibur 6, which both have fantastic fighting systems and are a lot of fun to play with friends. Next up, we have Battlefront 2, which is a big old bucket of Star Wars fun, especially in the multiplayer mode that has an also very enjoyable single player mode. Next we have Kingdom Hearts, which came very close to making the list, but I felt that I couldn't justify putting it on the list due to the fact that my wife is the one playing the game, and I am simply a backseat gamer just watching her experience with the game, but it is very cute and endearing, and I'd recommend it to any Disney or Final Fantasy fan. Next we have Enter the Gungeon, which is a dungeon crawler with guns. That is a top-down shooter, which is a blast to play with friends, pun intended. Next we have Destiny 2, which is a fun looter shooter that is also very addictive. And last but certainly not least, we have Knights of the Old Republic 2, which came very close to making the list, but I couldn't quite justify putting it on the list due to the fact that I have actually played it years before, but this year was the first time I fully completed it, and I loved every minute of it. With that said, guys, let's move on to number one. My number one has to be Spider-Man PS4. How do you describe or talk about a game that meant so much to you? How do you explain how it emotionally impacted you? How it made you think about your life, your decisions, how about your relationships and how you treat people, about your responsibility? How do you describe a game that made you connect with the characters, the story, the world, the combat, and the traversal in such a way that you almost felt like you actually were there and living in it, breathing in it, and being a part of every moment? How do you describe a game that was just so perfectly and tenderly made with the fans in mind? How do you describe Spider-Man PS4? Simply put, you describe it as the best game that I played in 2019. The game has such a fantastic story, mostly due to the connections that you have with the characters. You want to see Peter succeed. You want to see Dr. Otto Octavius succeed. It breaks your heart to see him slowly become Doc Ock, and it really pulls at your heartstrings as you see Peter make tough decision after tough decision, not only in regards to villains and the villains that he fights, but also in regards to his relationships, how he deals with them, and how he deals with his responsibility, not only to Spider-Man, but to Peter Parker, and how both parts of his life really interfere with the other. He can never truly succeed as Spider-Man and never truly succeed as Peter Parker because of both personas, but finds himself constantly striving to be the best that he can be. Alongside a fantastic story and great characters and romantic relationship with Mary Jane that will just have you bubbling inside with enthusiasm and glee because of how cute and memorable their romance is, you'll also find yourself constantly wanting to play the game because the web slinging is fun, fast, and fluid, but also requires a great amount of skill. It's not something that you can just hold R1 and continue to go forward. You really have to plan your web swinging out if you want to be the fastest and do the most with the traversal. You also have to use every inch and piece of the combat in terms of the gadgets, in terms of your abilities, in terms of your customizations. Everything plays a role. The game also does a lot in terms of great fan service, giving you plenty of suits to wear, plenty of abilities to use, and plenty of homages to find. Overall, this game was the perfect Spider-Man experience. It was a game that I absolutely adored, and it's a game that I am definitely going to be playing for many years to come. If you're a Spider-Man fan, if you're a gamer, get yourself this game. This game must be played. It has one of the best video game stories I've ever experienced, one of the most fun experiences I've ever had playing a game, and overall is definitely my game of 2019.
Peter, it's time to get up.
Well guys, those are my least favorite, most disappointing, and favorite games that I got to play in the year of 2019. Please, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, tell us why you did in the comments below, and why not subscribe and hit that notification bell while you're at it so you're always notified when the next upload will begin. With that said guys, please be sure to also tell me in the comments down below what were some of your favorite games that you played this year, whether they be new releases or old releases. And as always guys, I have loved making this video for you. I hope you have a fantastic day. This is Cody from Let's Play Station, and I'll see you guys next time.